If you ask any Harry Potter fan what their favorite Harry Potter book is, they will probably tell you Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince or Prisoner of Azkaban. If you ask them the same question about their favorite Harry Potter movie, you know which one they are probably not going to tell you is their favorite? Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. And there's an issue with that. Because why is the favorite book not the favorite movie? Oh, because they screwed up the movie. So let's hope that HBO does a little bit better, and maybe let's go over all of the episodes of season 6 to see if we can fix the problem that the movies created. So let's talk about episode 1 real quick. Episode 1 is 5 chapters. We're gonna go over each chapter. This was hard to break into 8 episodes. Let me tell you, this is one of the longest episodes, probably, because it's going to have not only one other person's perspective, but 2. You have chapter 1, The Other Minister, chapter 2, Spinner's End, which are from 2 totally different people's point of view that aren't Harry's, but they are big points of the story. You see what the state of the wizarding world is with the reveal that Voldemort is actually alive, and then you also see, basically, you get told what the story is in chapter 2. Hey, Malfoy has been tasked by Voldemort to kill Dumbledore, and if Malfoy cannot do that, then it's up to Snape to do that. And not just up to Snape, it's required for Snape to do it because he makes the unbreakable vow. So we get the whole plot right there. Dumbledore is dying at the end of the season, either by the hands of Malfoy or by the hands of Snape. Then we finally get to chapter 3, Will and Won't, where we get to Harry's point of view, and it picks up right there. Like, hey, look, Dumbledore's coming. He's here. Oh, the will of Sirius. Okay. Do you own Creature? I won't. Creature. Shut up. Yeah, you own Creature. Okay, and that's it. Then they go and find Horace Slughorn, and you get introduced to the Slug Club. At least the idea of the Slug Club. This is where I kind of had trouble. Do I want to add chapter 5 to this episode? Because, like, chapter 4 is Dumbledore saying, hey, I want to give you lessons. Have fun at the burrow. And then Harry knocks on the door, next episode. But also at the same time, it's chapter 5, the excess of phlegm really doesn't fit in the next episode. It would be a really slow start, and then it would just push a chapter for each episode, and it would just make a bigger mess. So I put it in episode 1, and you just kind of get the introduction of, hey, look, here's where the Weasleys are coming from. This is what the wizarding world from Harry's point of view looks like after the reveal of Voldemort. Everybody's on high alert. You get molly wobbles and things like that. And then you find out that Fleur Delacour is going to be Fleur Weasley. You get that whole little storyline in there. And that's it for episode 1. Episode 1 is good. It's pretty packed. It's going to be fast paced, but also at the same time, we're going to get a lot of information. We're going to get right into it. Half-Blood Prince is a fast moving book. It's shorter than the last one, but there's a lot more going on. Where Order of the Phoenix was all in Harry's head, Half-Blood Prince is just action the entire time. Comparatively. All right, so now we get to episode 2, which is 4 chapters. It could have been 5, it could be 3. It's also a difficult one to try to break down just because of how the story is. Most of the Harry Potter stories up until now have been, here's a block of chapters which kind of tell a story. Like, hey, who's Nicholas Flamel? We're going to try to figure out who Nicholas Flamel is. We found out who Nicholas Flamel is. Next chapter is who's trying to steal the Sorcerer's Stone. Kind of that idea. But in this, it's interlocking stories because we're not just following Harry's story in this. We're also following Draco. Draco is almost a main character in this, in the background. Like, we're following his story throughout. Like, in the first episode, we have the whole Narcissa and Bellatrix going to Snape saying, you need to protect our son. But then we also have Snape's storyline, because now Snape is intertwined with the Draco storyline, and we're seeing that from Harry's point of view. So, getting into episode 2, we get chapter 6, Draco's Detour, where Harry is following Draco around Diagon Alley into Nocturne Alley. In the movies, it's really weird because then there's a weird ceremony, like a Death Eater ceremony going on in public at Borgin and Burke's, that was always so weird. It's like, okay, this is where we're going to brand you as a Death Eater in the middle of a public street where people can see you from the window when we're trying to take down the Death Eaters. And then nobody believes anybody, but it's just Malfoy goes to shop and is asking about the Vanishing Cabinet and also picks up the necklace for later. Then we get chapter 7, the Slug Club, which is still Harry focusing on Malfoy and following him in the train, as well as just Horace being Horace. But the main event of that is Malfoy being stalked and Malfoy then breaking Harry's nose. And then we also get Tonks, where in the movie we get Luna, who just can see through the invisibility cloak with her magical specter specs, whatever. But Tonks finds him because she's aware of the invisibility cloak and he's a detective basically, finds him and seems a little bit off because we need to get that storyline back in there. We need to get the storyline of Tonks and Lupin back into this series. And we can build on it in 5 because we know about it in 6. That's probably the first half of the episode, is just the Malfoy storyline. Then we get the Snape side of it. We get Snape victorious, where he is announced as the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor. And Ron goes, well, good news is he won't be here next year. But now we have potions. Harry didn't think he was going to take potions because he didn't get an outstanding in his OWL. He got an excellent. So he didn't think, I'm going to need potions. But now he needs potions. So, of course, what is he going to do? He's got to borrow a book. And this is where we get introduced to the Half-Blood Prince. And that's the end of the episode. The first week of school is the end of the episode. Now we move on to episode 3. Episode 3 is also 4 chapters, but these are going to focus more upon flashbacks. So chapter 10 is the House of Gaunt. Chapter 11 is Hermione's Helping Hand. Chapter 12 is Silver and Opals, and chapter 13 is The Secret Riddle. 4 chapters, 3 of them are all about Voldemort and his history. Hermione's Helping Hand is about Harry doing tryouts for Quidditch and Hermione maybe cheating at getting Ron into the Quidditch team. Still, it's fine. Cormac McLaggen sucked anyway. But most of this episode will be focused upon Harry learning about Voldemort's past. We get the Gaunt family. We get them strolling down the lane and meeting the Gaunt house with the snake on the door. We meet Merope, Marvolo, Morphin, and Tom. Then we get the story of little Tom in the orphanage, which we saw in the movie, and it was done okay. I think maybe cast a younger actor as young Dumbledore instead of just be like, yeah, here's this. We're going to make a movie down the road where we're going to cast a really young man for Dumbledore, who's only supposed to be 10 years younger than this, but you know, mind of that. So we just get so many stories. We get about Tom's life outside of school. We also then get a little bit of like a setup for the future with Silver and Opals, where we see that Mundungus has been raiding the House of Black, which is Harry's house. And Harry doesn't even register that, shit, that's my stuff. No, he's like, why are you stealing Sirius's stuff? What'd you start as soon as he died? Like, what the hell? And then they go, we get it. It's your stuff. And he goes, oh, that is my stuff. Damn it. I'm going to murder that man. Which is funny that he doesn't even realize, wait, no, Mundungus is stealing from me. But it also sets up the fact that, you know, okay, he's stealing that stuff and he stole the Horcrux. So when the Horcrux goes missing, we're like, yeah, Mundungus probably stole it. Creature, can you go find Mundungus for me? Yes, master. Cool. Then we also get the first attempt on Dumbledore's life, which goes poorly because it ends up hurting Katie Bell. Good job, Malfoy. You're doing a great job. But of course, Harry immediately goes, it was Malfoy. He did it. Call it. I'm calling it. Malfoy did it. And everybody's like, Harry, it's not Malfoy. Even McGonagall's like, it's not Malfoy. He was in detention with me. Sorry for my offensive Scottish accent. But that's episode 3. It's a lot of flashbacks and just little setup pieces for the rest of the season. All right, now episode 4 is interesting. It's only 3 chapters, but there's a lot in these chapters. So the first chapter, of course, is Felix Felicis. It's where Harry pretends to put the Felix Felicis potion in Ron's drink. Ron drinks it, has a great Quidditch game, and then gets to mac on Lavender Brown at the end of that, pissing off Hermione. But that's the beginning of the episode. It's fine. We then have Slughorn's Christmas party, where Hermione's mad at Ron, Ron's mad at Hermione. They wanted to go to Slughorn's party together, but then Ron macked on Lavender, so Hermione took Cormac because she figured that would be the grossest person to take that would also piss off Ron the most. Harry's stuck in the middle, and Malfoy gets brought into the party and then taken out by Snape. So, of course, Harry follows them and hears about the unbreakable vow. But, of course, once again, Harry is seeing stuff about Malfoy and Snape and knows they're up to no good because, of course, we know what the plot is. Malfoy is supposed to kill Dumbledore. Harry has basically put that together, that Malfoy is supposed to kill Dumbledore, but the mystery of this is not who done it, like the rest of the stories have been. It's how do it, because we're not sure how this is supposed to work, but it is going to. We then get a very frosty Christmas, which is finally a true Weasley household Christmas. People come and go all the time visiting, and Harry gets to spend time with Lupin, trying to figure out what's going on with Lupin, what's going on with Tonks, and Lupin's like, I don't know what's going on with her. She's a crazy woman. Maybe she's depressed or something. He knows what's going on. But one thing that will be prevalent throughout this season, we're in episode 4. We're halfway through. We are building up the crush that Harry has on Ginny. Because, of course, in the movie, it's just, hey, let's have an awkward kiss in the room requirements. And it's like, okay. And they tried to like build up Harry like standing up when Ginny walks into the room, but it's just, it doesn't. I think maybe at the end of the 5th season, they should have like a little bit of like weird tension between them, but she's dating Dean. And then in this book, it's just Harry, like, just looking off, like in conversations, just looking off at Jenny, going, what? Oh yeah. And just have those little moments. But it's a laid back episode. It's probably one of the quieter episodes of the season because shit's about to hit the fan. And no, we're not going to set the burrow on fire because this scene needs action. Not every scene needs action. We can just enjoy the magic. If you enjoy this breakdown of the Harry Potter series, please like and subscribe and check out the playlist. I'll have it linked right here of all of my HBO Max Harry Potter Reboot series. It has the chapter breakdowns of how I would break down the chapters and what stories I would emphasize on more and little effects like that. But also, I have casting announcements and my thoughts and opinions on those things as well. So make sure to check out that playlist and like and subscribe for more. Because as more information does come out about the Harry Potter series, I'll talk about it. As well as once trailers start coming out, I will be putting trailer reaction videos. So look forward to that. Now let's get back to breaking down the episode. So episode 5 is starting almost a 2-part episode. 5 and 6 are going to be 2-part, like part 1, part 2. Because we start episode 5 with a sluggish memory, which builds up the mission that Harry is tasked to, hey, Harry, can you get the memory from Slughorn that he has clearly doctored? And Harry goes, yeah, I can probably do that. And then it's just the whole episode of him trying and failing. Because of course we get the next chapter, Birthday Surprises, where Ron eats love potion that's been expired. He then washes it down with poison, almost dies. Harry shoves a Bezoar down his throat. And once again, Harry, you have saved a Weasley. Which Weasley are you going to save next? Is it Fred? Is it George? Percy? We then have a quick Quidditch match where Harry gets knocked out and is laying in the hospital wing next to Ron, who is recovering from poison. Luna Lovegood also does the Quidditch match. Funny, freaking hilarious, losers lurgy. But Harry realizes we can use house elves to follow Malfoy and figure out what he's doing because, of course, Harry is thinking of one thing and one thing only. What the hell is Malfoy up to? Because he almost missed the match altogether, which probably would have been better since he got knocked out, but he missed the match because Malfoy walked by him and all he could think about was his little boy toy Malfoy. We then get one more memory and a little bit of I'm not mad at you, Harry, just very disappointed that you did not succeed in your mission yet. But let's look at this last memory, which is, of course, the memory of Lord Voldemort coming to Dumbledore and asking him if he can be the defense against the dark arts professor. And Dumbledore goes, ha ha ha, and you think I will let you corrupt the children in my school? As long as I am headmaster here, you will never teach that subject. You don't even want to teach that subject, Tom. Oh yes, I know you want to be called Voldemort. You will always be Tom to me. Dumbledore, respect his name change. Do not use his dead name towards him. But that's how the episode ends. I've never been able to keep a defense against the dark arts professor since that moment. Probably just a coincidence. Anyway, that's it for the episode. Like I said, it's a part 1, part 2, because there's a lot going on in the next episode. As I keep saying, each episode has more and more. It keeps speeding up and speeding up and speeding up to the inevitable end. And this episode is no different. So we finally figure out that Malfoy keeps disappearing off the map because he's in the room of requirements. What is he doing in there? We don't know. But Harry is now spending all his time trying to break into that room to no avail. And unfortunately, this will be a sad moment in this episode, but Aragog has passed. So the next chapter is after the burial, which isn't exactly a sad occasion. Harry then uses his Felix Felicis because he just needs a little bit of luck to try to get that memory from Slughorn. So he takes a sip of it and says, you know what? I need to get that memory, but I'm going to go down and see Hagrid. And on his way, of course, he runs into Horace Slughorn, being a little bit of the sleazebag that he is, and stealing venomous tentacular vines from the greenhouse so he can sell it off. But we finally get the memory from Slughorn. And I think one of the best things in the movie that the book did not have was the story of the fish, the lily petal sinking to the bottom of the fishbowl and then turning into a fish. And then the day that Lily died, the fish disappeared. I thought that was one of the best moments in that movie. Like, I know a lot of people like the pincers, but yeah, it was Daniel Radcliffe being silly, but I feel like the more sentimental moment of just Slughorn being vulnerable and telling this story and giving Harry a moment to see how sweet his mother was, I think was a great thing. It's something that is not in the book, and I wish it was, and it was only in the movie. But we then find out about Horcruxes, plural. We know about Horcrux, maybe Horcruxes, At least Dumbledore knows of 2. But he just wants to know how many Voldemort would have thought to make. And we find out that it's 7. As a misconception, as people get confused when they say split his soul into 7, so there's 7 Horcruxes. No, there's 5 Horcruxes. Voldemort then unintentionally splits his soul and puts part of it in Harry, which makes the 7 pieces of soul, 5 Horcruxes, Harry, and Voldemort. And then Voldemort then makes a 7th Horcrux with Nagini. So yes, there are 7 Horcruxes, but that was not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal was 6 Horcruxes plus his soul. So splitting it into 7 pieces. Get it? Got it? Good. All right. We then end the episode with Harry confronting Malfoy and almost killing him. And I think that's where it would end. It's just murder in the girls' bathroom, murder. And then we pick up the next episode with Harry being remorseful. So this episode starts out with Harry's punishment for Malfoy almost being murdered and Harry using dark magic and having detention for the rest of his life. Then he gets invited to see Dumbledore for another lesson. And on his way, he runs into Sybil Trelawney, who talks about how the fact that she just tried to go into the room requirements. And she succeeded in trying to get into the room requirements, but there was someone in there and they were cheering. And then Harry goes, oh shit, give me a second, I'll be right back, promise. Runs off, sets everybody up for taking down Malfoy in case he does something bad tonight, and then runs back and talks about stuff. Harry knows Trelawney is the one that gave the prophecy to Dumbledore about Harry. Trelawney does not know that she's the one who did that. But then she starts talking about how, you know, when I was doing my interview for this, I didn't think I was going to get this job. It was very nice that Dumbledore has given me this job and has let me stay, because I didn't think I was going to get the job. It just didn't seem to be going very well, and he didn't seem very receptive. And then all of a sudden he was very receptive after the fact of being interrupted during my interview. And Harry goes, excuse me, what? You were interrupted? And she goes, yeah. Snape walked in on the interview. And he goes, excuse me, Snape? You mean the guy that I've been accusing for 6 years of being a bad guy, and you're telling me now that he overheard the prophecy? He was the one who told Voldemort the prophecy that got my parents killed? Excuse me, dear, what'd you say? Nothing. So then Harry goes, you go away. Dumbledore, we got problems. And he basically confronts Dumbledore about the fact that Snape is bad, is doing something with Malfoy, and it's going to go down tonight. And Dumbledore goes, Harry, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I leave this castle unattended at all? Just because I'm not here does not mean it is protected. Let's go, unless you have anything else to say. Harry goes, no, I do want to do this. I want to do this. And so we enter into the cave. And this whole episode is just them going into the cave to find the locket. You have the Inferi coming out of the water, Dumbledore projecting fire around them as they leave, but Dumbledore is weakened. And they get back to Hogsmeade, and Rosmerta comes out and goes, there's been a murder at the castle, the Dark Mark. It's above the astronomy tower. And then Dumbledore, with renewed vigor, says, let's fly. And they fly to the astronomy tower, where it's a trap. Harry is under his invisibility cloak and Petrificus Totalis, and that was the last thing that Dumbledore was able to do before the Death Eaters arrived and disarmed him. Malfoy, of course, disarms him. Snape, of course, comes up and kills him to save Malfoy, but we don't know that yet. All we see is the evil Snape coming up and murdering Dumbledore with cold-blooded fury. And we don't realize that that fury that Snape has is not because he hates Dumbledore. Because at that moment he does technically hate Dumbledore, but he hates Dumbledore because Dumbledore is making him kill himself. Snape hates Dumbledore because Dumbledore is making Snape kill him. And that is why there's hate in the eyes, because Harry remarks there was hate in his eyes. But it wasn't because he hated Dumbledore. It was because he hated that he had to kill Dumbledore. And that's where the episode ends, is Dumbledore falling off the tower. When we get to the final episode, this is the fallout of the last episode, is Dumbledore has just fallen from the astronomy tower, and Harry is chasing after Snape and Malfoy. They are fleeing. This is also where we find out that Snape is the Half-Blood Prince. The title of the chapter is The Flight of the Prince, as they leave Hogwarts in the first battle of Hogwarts, the Battle of the Astronomy Tower, where luckily the DA was prepared and the order was already there because Dumbledore never left the castle unsafe. So Dumbledore's army was there and the Order of the Phoenix were ready to fight, and nobody got hurt except for a Death Eater who got hit by another Death Eater's killing curse. But all of the Order and Dumbledore's army are safe. Well, mostly. Bill did get attacked by Fenrir Greyback, but he was not in werewolf mode. But he's going to have scarring on his face and like his meat a little bit more rare. But we need to talk about the 600-year-old elephant in the room. Dumbledore is dead. No, it can't be, they say. No, Dumbledore is not dead. Yes, he's dead. Well, we need to keep the school open. Should we? That would be Dumbledore's wishes. All right. Well, says Harry, I'm not going back to school. Why are you not going back to school, they all say, because Dumbledore gave me a mission. Well, what is the mission? He gave it to me, and only to me, and nobody else. Well, what's the mission? I can't tell you. It's only my mission, and I must complete the mission. All right. Well, we're going with you. No, you're not going. Yes, we're going with you. Oh, by the way, Jenny, we're breaking up. So much is going on in this episode, and it's all a lot of talking and a lot of walking and just taking in the fact that the Death Eaters had a win at this point. At least most of the time, there's a little bit of a silver lining in the fact that, Order of the Phoenix, yeah, Sirius died, but the Wizarding world is aware that Voldemort's back. Goblet of Fire, it's like, Voldemort's back, but we foiled his plan and we can prepare for him even if the Ministry doesn't believe us. But this one is just the first domino that leads to the downfall of the Wizarding world before Harry brings his rebellion towards the Battle of Hogwarts and it all ends. I mean, even the locket that they got in the cave, Harry opens it up and is like, oh, it's a fake, not the real locket. So this just ends on a loss. It's a crappy way to end the season, but it's also good. You're going to end on this and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm pumped. Harry's going on a mission to hunt Horcruxes and fight Death Eaters, and he's going to live in a tent and stay out of trouble. I think season 7 is probably going to be a little bit different and focus more on maybe the events of Hogwarts. Instead of us hearing about it, we're going to see that rather than just, hey, we're in a tent. This episode, we're in a tent, but in a different forest. So I will break that down next month, but that's it for season 6. So if you like what you're watching, make sure to like and subscribe for more Harry Potter content. Stay marvelous, and Nox.